Hey guys, it's good to be back, and I'm home finally after a long day of travel. West Coast to East Coast is a rough journey for myself, but we have our results from this past weekend. Deck lists are still being kind of put up and figured out right now, but I figured we'd talk about the top eight, the meta share a little bit, what happened in the top 74, and kind of what this means for the metagame. Just a really quick analysis of Salt Lake City regionals, kind of what this means moving forward. This isn't like a Liverpool, I guess, metagame review yet, but like just a general overview of the top 74. Now, this graphic was compiled by Jack Old at Complexity Card Game, so thank you, Jack, for posting this publicly. So in day two, we had 74 players, which is pretty hefty for only a 620 person regionals. I think we had 620. We might have had a little bit more, but it looks like a lot of people made it through a lot less tie rate than previously expected. And here are the decks that made it, with MEW VMAX pioneering, or not pioneering, but like leading the charge at 43%, with 32 of them making it. You would expect MEW to do well, right? Like that's still good. The results are still there. MEW is MEW. Then you have Arceus and Teleon. There's 7 players. This is just probably the straightforward Arceus and Teleon build. No secondary attacker style of Arceus and Teleon, which is probably my group plus a couple of others. Arceus and Teleon Moltres, which is a very different build, I will say that. So this is like Nick Moffat, Ian, some of the other guys there. Gengar, Houndoom, 5 of them made it, and 2 made top cut, which is very good conversion rate. I think 3 technically, but 1 got DQ'd. 4 Arceus Malamar VMAX, very funny deck, very cool deck. Yeah, I'm here for it. I love it. 4 Rapid Strike Malamar. I think this deck has a lot of potential. I think this deck is very, very good. Very happy to see this deck doing well. 3 Jolteon. Technically, 1 has top 8'd after the DQ. So Jolteon did make an appearance. I lost to 1 as well. Other Arceus decks, Duraludon, Beedrill, Sandaconda, Gengar, which ended up winning the event, Gyarados, and then we had a couple of other decks like Eternatus and Suicune hit that other category. So what does this mean? Yes, MEW VMAX was 32 of the 74 decks, but there was not that many big name tags associated with MEW VMAX. A lot of this other slice of the pie was eaten up by players playing decks that were not MEW VMAX, which means I think skill is still very relevant. Skill is still very there, and the players who are more skilled were able to kind of find their way through these MEW matches and, figure out what to do. Now, if you're going into Liverpool next weekend and there's like 8 MEWs in top 8, do not be surprised, because if the top players like Tord ends up playing MEW, then I think that'll sway the results significantly. For example, my whole group, had we played MEW, I'm pretty confident 1 or 2 of us at least would have had the same result or even better. But we weren't as confident in the deck, obviously. Same with like Nick Moffat and those guys. Same with the Gengar Houndoom gang. Like same with whatever. So let's look at the top 8. All names you'd expect to see here. Drew Kennett, a previous regional champion. Congratulations to Drew for winning this one again with a very unique deck. Daniel Lynch, a previous regional champion as well. Zach Cooper, a lot of results in the past. Nick Moffat, very good player. Ian Robb, previous regional champion. Gabe Samar, one of the few players who kind of made a bigger name for themselves in the online era. Yes, Gabe has been playing for a very long time, but I think these are the results that Gabe has been looking for a very long time. Xander Perot, a good buddy of mine, and he's won regionals, so. And then here are the rest of the lists. So we have the rest of the top 30, top 74, 73, because we had a DQ. A lot of familiar names, in day 2, but if you look at the tags next to them, it's not as much MEW. Like you go to Kevin Baxter, a very well-known name, Arceus and Teleon. Boom. Go next. Let's see where's the next name I can recognize personally. Aaron Rucker, not like a household name, but a friend of mine. Malamar and Teleon, different deck. Connor Finton, first MEW player here in the top echelon of players I consider. Rahul Reddy, that's me, Arceus and Teleon. Jake Earhart, an online name, Arceus and Teleon. Corey Godfrey, Malamar. Let's keep looking. And then you start getting into the top 32, and you see that there's very few Malamar that actually make it into top 32, including Caleb Gettimer with a 10th place finish with MEW VMAX. A lot of names, a lot of little MEW. So we don't have Drew's list yet. I believe they'll be posting it on their own content channel. But the interesting thing about Drew's list is they did play Hyper Potion and they played Tool Scrapper, which are both really cool cards because Gengar needs 3 Dark Energies to attach. But after your first 2 Arceus kind of go down, you're like done with your DTEs, or say like they become useless cards. But you slap that DTE on, you can Hyper Potion it away, and all of a sudden your Gengar is in fighting shape once again. And the Tool Scrapper, I think, was the card that probably took Drew to higher lengths than a lot of other cards. A very, very strong archetypal card, a very strong card that, just pushes the envelope a little bit to put players where they need to be. Second place was Finn with a very, very unique Suicune Ludicolo Inteleon list. I really, really loved. I'm going to turn off my webcam because it makes it easier for you guys. I love this list. I think Finn pushed the boundaries of what can and what can't be, cut. And this list seems very, very refined. Seems very, very well thought out with the exactly only 4 Melanie 1 Raihan as your supporters, the 4 Cross Switcher, the very consistent ball search line across the board, the 3 Lotad, something very important in my opinion, the 2 Shady Dealings, also very, very good. Only 2 Capture, which is a little bit unorthodox, but I think Finn said in his report that if he was thinking about playing 5 Water, 3 Capture, but the 6th Water ended up helping him beat a Duraludon in day 1, and he thinks that already carries its weight. 3 Capacious Bucket, the 1 Horn, the 1 Belt, the 1 Cape, a little bit dicey on these 2 counts, but I think Finn knew what he was doing. The list was phenomenal. We're going to watch some of these stream games on my own stream later, so come check that out, but I think Finn played phenomenally. We had Gengar, piloted by Zach Cooper after that. A very vanilla, nothing special about the deck list with the Stone Journer to kind of deal with Arceus decks, with the Giga Hammer into the Lance, Lance Pulse potentially, whatever, to have that answer into the Arceus when it gets too annoying. And the very interesting thing about their list, they played 2 Tool Jammer. Now, Tool Jammer is a card that has been slept on. It was in Single Strike decks for a little bit, and then it got replaced with Air Balloons, Choice Belts, whatever. And so in this format where a lot of big charms exist as choice, the Tool Jammer acts basically like a Choice Belt, but also can shut off their Choice Belts, which makes it significantly better against decks like MEW, which need a lot of modifiers to knock out the Gengar VMAX. So a very cool inclusion and something that I think definitely helped them win games. Then we had Arceus Inteleon Moltres, played by Nick Moffitt. Now, this deck was something that was on everyone's radar. I think Peter Lowe got 3rd place with it in Brisbane. I think the deck was very, very cool. Introducing the 2 Baby Galarian Moltres into the deck, giving you an answer into MEW. But what Nick went ahead and did that was a little bit cooler than I think a lot of people assumed, because this deck does not do well into traditional Arceus Inteleon, which, can be a problem, right? If you can't fare well into other traditional Arceus Inteleons because you don't have your own Charon's Care, if you can note right here, you're in a little bit of trouble. But what Nick did was they played the Galarian Zapdos V with 1 Fighting and 1 Cape of Toughness, introducing this 3-card package to basically take a knockout onto the Arceus. And with the Cape, you're not getting a return KO unless there's a Scrapper or a Tool Jammer, which was very uncommon in a lot of lists. And a lot of people cut Dunsparce this weekend, so please do expect Dunsparce to come back into lists after fighting style decks like the Sandaconda and those kinds of decks were very prevalent. So now I think this warrants Dunsparce coming back. This weekend was a meta call for a lot of players like myself saying, hey, we're not expecting fighting. I don't think anyone's crazy enough to play fighting. And lo and behold, it turned out to be the correct answer into a lot of decks. I think had I gone against Nick, I would have been completely destroyed. I was not looking forward to that match, and it can happen. But the list was very good across the board, something I really enjoyed. I think this was the best deck for the event. I was hoping Nick would take the whole thing down because this list was so cool. My favorite list probably coming out of the event with how innovative and consistent it is in general. It's a very consistent deck. And then we had Arceus, Ian Robb playing basically the same 59 cards, I believe. What was the 60th card difference is the question. Well, Ian plays 1 less Inteleon. Ian, what are you doing? 1 less Inteleon? Oh, spicy. I'm just looking at everything. Okay, I have no clue what the other card is. But Ian just plays 1 less Inteleon and +1 something across the board here. I think it's Palpad. Yeah, it's Palpad. So Palpad gives them the access to use Raihan again, the Claras again, stuff like that. A very cool, the 2 of them working together, a very cool combination of lists. Then we had Gabe Samar, I believe, who also worked with Zach Cooper, as the lists look very, very similar across the board. A very similar 60. Nothing more to say about that. And then we had Arceus Inteleon, piloted by my group, by Xander Perot, playing the very thin lines of stuff, including the Bibarel, which a lot of players had reservations about, but the Bibarel pulled its own weight. The Crobat pulled a lot of weight as well in the games, the Galarian Zigzagoon, and we had a lot of one-ofs that kind of filled their job when they needed to. especially with Palpad putting cards back, the 2 Big Charm, the 1 Choice Belt, the 3 Path. The list felt very, very strong. It felt definitely like a tournament-winning list. It's just that we unfortunately hit a couple of roadblocks and we had a couple hands that were unplayable. And, that's how it goes sometimes when you play Pokemon. So huge shout out to Xander. I'll try to have him on here for an interview sometime this week just to talk to him. Any of the players who are watching this, if you're in top 8 and would love to do an interview, just talking about your run, please feel free to reach out to me. I know I haven't done interviews in a very long time, but we haven't had IRL in a very long time. So I love watching interviews. Just please feel free to reach out. I will love to talk to you. Then we had Jolteon VMAX, technically making 8th seed after the DQ. A very, I think, standard list across the board with the 2 Cheryl, something I think is necessary in a deck like this. Or you could play like 1 Cheryl, 1 Palpad, I guess. But I feel like 2 Cheryl is just better because if you prize a Cheryl, the game can get really, really hard. And the 1 Fan of Waves also is very, very strong against like RCS decks if you can find a turn 2. But besides that, I really like the list. I really like the deck. Jolteon was on the table for me at some point. I was thinking about it. I just didn't commit because I felt like, Manaphy. But this does now warrant cards like Dunsparce and Manaphy coming back into the format. And if you look at the rest of the top cut, Charlie Lockier's fighting Beedrill deck, as well as, some of the other, like, I think Kevin ended up playing the RCS Dark Inteleon as well. So I don't know. A lot of cool decks, a lot of innovation. The Malamar boys, I think I'm the most happy to see of all the decks. But yeah, it's a cool weekend. We were able to see a lot of innovation from the meta already, but I do not expect Mew to go away anytime soon. Mew will still show up in droves. Mew will still be the deck to beat. Mew will be there next weekend. It's a fact. Like, Mew will be there in Liverpool, so do not expect anything else. But whatever the top players play, like this slice of the pie, that will aid to whoever wins. But thank you guys for watching. Tomorrow we'll be doing my own VOD review. And watch me screw up on stream. You don't want to miss it. So thank you guys. Like, subscribe, and I love you guys so much. I'll see you next tomorrow.